Hi everyone, it's me, Tim. Today I want to talk about right mistake making. It's a fun Friday, so I kind of wanted to dive into something that recently occurred to me while I was rereading my favorite book, Lord of Light by Roger Zelazny. I have a video about how it's one of my most influential books and how I wanted to make an RPG out of it years ago. But what I wanted to do now is read a passage to you from page 253 of the Easton Press edition. I noticed I have 3 copies of the book and they all have slightly different page numbers. Anyway, this is right at the end. There are really no spoilers, but it's going on between the main character Sam and another character named Tack. So let me read you the quote. "I wanted to tell you," said Tack, "that I knew you'd win. I knew you'd find the answer." It wasn't the answer, Tack, but it wasn't an answer, and it wasn't much. It was just a small battle. They could have done as well without me. "I mean," said Tack, "everything. You figured in everything that led up to it. You had to be there." "I suppose I did. Yes, I suppose I did. Something always manages to draw me near the tree that lightning is about to fall upon. Destiny, sir. Rather an accidental social conscience and some right mistake making, I fear." I love this quote. I first read it in 1987 when I discovered the book. This would be 4 years before I'd go to Interplay. I was in graduate school at UCI. 7 years before I'd ever start working on Fallout. It was 10 years before Fallout ever even shipped. But I'd already made one game, Grand Slam Bridge, and there was something in this passage that spoke to me, and I wasn't exactly sure why. Years later, I understood it. So I kind of want to walk you through it. And this is one reason this book means so much to me is there are a lot of passages in this book that say a whole bunch in a tiny little space. So let's go in order through this passage. When he talks about the answer versus an answer. My games are filled with designs that I liked. I have videos about it. And also, there are some designs I didn't like. The game shipped with something I didn't want in it. And I think I've mentioned that's true for every game I've ever shipped. There's been something in it, I'm like, I didn't want it that way. But either time, money, whatever, that's what we shipped with. Because of that, I've never viewed any of my games as perfect. I've never shipped a game that's perfect. Many of you will agree with that. But instead, I thought what we did in it and the choices we made and what we put together, basically faced with the problem of getting this game done, getting it out the door, getting it published, getting it into your hands, they were an answer, but not the answer. And you can spend a lot of time looking for the answer. I don't think you'll ever find it. I've never found it. Like I said, I've never shipped a game this is the perfect crystallization of all the ideas I had in my head about this game and its setting and its story and its mechanics. There's always going to be things that don't work. There's always going to be things you can't do, either because they might not be possible or more likely they're just not possible with the group of people you have. You don't know how to do it. Nobody else knows how to do it. Years later, someone will figure out how to do it. That doesn't mean you should put your game on hold until everything is perfect. So many of my games are what I would call here's a game. It's not the game. It's not the perfect solution to every problem that we had making the game. It's not the answer. It's an answer. Then let's talk about being near lightning. I have described Fallout many times as being lightning in a bottle because it was, the right people in the right place at the right time who had the right backgrounds and the right skill set who were then given an opportunity. None of this was planned. It was almost canceled a few times. We had personnel shifts. I have a whole development timeline video on this. Interestingly, right after it shipped, shortly afterwards, I ended up leaving Interplay. Someone who was very angry that I left, not anyone I've ever talked about, not anybody in any of my videos, somebody who was just really, really mad. He thought it was selfish that I left. He was angry at me. He called me up one day and said, "I hope you realize you will never do anything like Fallout again. That you were associated with this game being great, but you're not the cause of it." And I was like, I don't know what to say to that. I was like, okay. I can tell you over the years, I'm really glad I didn't listen to that person. That would have been very much, that could have been my give up moment. Like, oh, he's right. I didn't have anything to do with Fallout being good. I should just step away. Well, guess what? Over the years, I've been associated with a lot of great games, Arcanum and Bloodlines and Tyranny and Pillars and the Outer Worlds. And I don't think I was the cause on any of these. But I certainly think after a while, you can start to say I was a cause. I think something drew me to Lightning, where Lightning's going to strike, and maybe I even helped Lightning strike there. I've talked in one of my videos about really good team members, team characteristics, and I mentioned the Catalyst team member, which is somebody who just their presence, either their personality or their skill set or their willingness to try things out, they make things work better, and they make games better just by being involved in them. Even if the designs weren't their idea, the main implementation wasn't their idea, they weren't the producer, they weren't the one who provided the opportunity. But I noticed in a lot of my good projects, there was somebody who was kind of like a catalyst. Things happened more because of them. It wasn't always me. I think on a few of my games it was me, but it wasn't always me because I first noticed that trait in other people where it's like, I'm so glad we have that person here. Things are going way better because of that person. And those were the catalyst people. To put it in this analogy, the lightning rod isn't the energy, but it certainly helps draw that energy into where you want it. And I think on a few of my games, I was a lightning rod. And lightning may have struck, and I wasn't the power there, but I certainly helped bring it in. And it's years later rereading that passage about how this main character got involved in almost every main event in the entire book, whether directly or peripherally, even sometimes when he was actively trying not to be. That kind of speaks to me. And then the final thing, and the reason I named this Right Mistake Making, I've made a bunch of mistakes. Talk about that in a lot of videos. A lot of mistakes. Some turned out to be great mistakes. They led to better game features. And even, I would dare say, a better game that would have been made had that mistake making not happened. And that, I think, is what right mistake making is. I've talked about this, and I have a whole video about it, about don't be afraid to fail. Because you will. You're going to fail. And you're going to fail a lot. If you're afraid to fail, you're either going to stop after your first couple failures and never continue, or you're going to constantly fail, which I've done and everybody does, and it's just going to make you upset and bug you, and you're not going to learn the things you could have learned from it. You will learn a lot from your failures, and some of those failures will go on to be great successes. And please watch my Learn from Failure video, because I talk at length about that. Anyway, I thought this would be a good Fun Friday because there you go. There's a very short passage from the book way at the end. It's a few pages from the end of the book. And I think there's a lot of big lessons in that really small passage in my favorite book. So I hope you like this. Maybe you'll go read the book.